Welcome into another episode of the No BS Golf Show. It's your boy, Brad Thomas, here with Chris Mills. And at least one of us had a really fat ticket last week. Thank you guys for joining. We're going to talk about the Mexico Open. But before we get into Mexico Open, we got to talk about the Genesis Invitational. Chris, you get the honors, my friend, because you're the one who smacked the ticket.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping that it was going to be a double dip, to be perfectly honest. And through 6 holes after Denny made eagle and went to -10, I thought, you know what, this could finally be his week. Because if you remember on the show last week, we did give out Denny at 110 to 1 to win the whole thing.
Yeah.
But again, whenever you take someone like that, it's always nice to sprinkle them on the first round, and threw a little bonus bet on there and turned $250 into 15K. So that was definitely the good for me last week.
That's lit. I had a lot of good, and I was going to talk about Harris English top 20, but I actually thought there were some pretty cool scenarios that happened, and I wanted people who are watching and listening to be mindful of this. The best way to make money in golf is playing situationally or basically fading something. And we had a couple situation spots that I thought were pretty sick. The first round, they had these guys like in the 60s, like 68 for round scores. Yeah, they bumped up a little bit, but I was able to take advantage of just betting a lot of guys under those numbers because it was playing tough. The rough was thick, it was wet, and it was windy. And then there was a massive overcorrection in round 2 when the weather was beautiful. And so then I just went on a bunch of guys under. I thought that was probably my favorite good that happened. We ended up going 6-2 on round scores over the 2 days. And then the best situation was fading Dietrich and Spieth. Dietrich off the win, and then Spieth. He talked about it in an interview where he said, "My wrist hurts, in the cold." And he had
Yeah.
just played a ton, and he's been spraying his driver. Just felt like a really bad recipe. Faded him a lot. I faded him with any matchup I could. The only one that didn't win was a push with Victor Hovland missing the cut as well. What about your bad, my friend?
Man, I struggled last week in terms of matchups. Traditionally this year or over the course of the year, my matchup percentage has been strong.
Yeah.
But this week just threw that out the window. It was, trying to sniff out some value, find those value guys. And I think on Friday, 80% of the faves went down on their matchups. So it was, the day of the dogs. And then obviously when you parlay those, it's just so hard to win.
Yeah.
And you know this, and I hate this, but the 3-ball dead heat is the most bullshit rule.
Drives me nuts.
It doesn't make any sense where the guy can go out and play a great round, ties one other player and beats another guy by 5, but then it doesn't multiply or add anything to your ticket. It doesn't make sense to me. And then again, I like to pick on Hard Rock because it's what we're subject to here in Florida. But going 1v1 on the weekend, any tie is not a push. It's an automatic loss, which again happens, especially when the course is playing tough, right? It comes down to that last hole quite often. So the bad for me last week was, the matchups and the percentages. I always like to think that regardless, we're coming out on top if you're playing singles. Didn't happen last week, but excited to get away from really tough course, tough environment to a place where some birdies can be made.
Yeah, my bad. I'll say it was my placement bets. I haven't actually been successful in placement bets this year. Last year was great. This year, I'm not sure. I think I have gotten lucky on terms of big prices coming through. It's more of those guys floating around the like 150 to 170 range that aren't coming through for me. I went 1 and 3, so I hit 1 out of 4, which happened to be a plus 210, which was nice, but wasn't great. All right, lay it down. What was ugly for you?
Yeah, probably Denny, honestly. Parlayed that with I never got a good opportunity to grab Mav
Yeah.
or Oberg, right? That was a perfect situation. I knew I had a really good feeling that it was going to come from a chaser. And when Mav went crazy, he just dropped. So if you followed along like I do, on the first hole, he hit a bad drive, hit a bad second shot, and then actually hit a bad chip and had 42 feet on 1 for par and made it. Had you got him before he drains that putt, that was the ideal opportunity. And
Yeah.
then he went from whatever he was, plus 5,000 on hole 1, down to, I think he was down to minus 300 at one point before he hit that terrible wedge into the bunker and made bogey and changed everything. But prior to that bogey, you could have got Oberg. I think it was at plus 1,800 at that point. And I'm, pretty much on top of things when it comes on Sundays because you need to pick up that value when you can see that shift. And I missed both of them. And again, having Denny at -10 and leading through 6 holes, it kind of hurt me twice.
I think my ugly is just bad management of my personal Discord, I guess I would say.
Mm,
I had someone ask me in the chat, who should they live bet? And I was like, yeah, live bet Oberg, great bet. And I went and fired a bet on there, but not everyone has chat notifications on. I forgot to put it in the live bets. Oberg comes through and I can't even properly celebrate
mm,
because only some people are excited while other people are like, I'm paying money and you didn't put it. That's the stuff that you got to live
yeah,
and you learn. I probably wouldn't have been as confident had I put it into that, formal chat, adding a unit onto another golfer in a tournament where we've grabbed our money, our profit, and we just got to get out there and go. But nonetheless, like we said, Oberg won. The Genesis felt like a great story for a guy who played so well there Thursday at Torrey Pines and
yeah.
then just got sick. And then, now what? He feels like he's on that Jordan Spieth trajectory early in his career. I don't have much to say about the tournament. So without further ado, let's bring in Eli and talk about the Mexico Open. Mr. DegenEli. You can find Eli on X at DegenEli. Heavy Hitters Discord as well. I said we're going to get into the Mexico Open, but I always like to interview the guests and ask a couple of questions. Eli, I'm going to ask you, man. So how did you get into, the data analysis and building out the different data tools you have? And feel free to pub your website as well.
Yeah, DegenElytics.com. Fun fact, I never actually said the name out loud. I just thought it looked cool written down. So I was like pushing it out, never said it. And you say it out loud, it's kind of a mouthful, but it's DegenElytics.com. How it started, it's kind of, I mean, it's a long story and short at the same time, I guess. Um, I just started gambling like I don't know, whatever it became legal in Indiana, pretty much. And we were using like, we had a small, just private Discord of our friends using Google Sheets and like import HTML. I have no coding background, pretty much, to bring in different stats and stuff. And then really what opened it up like crazy for me was ChatGPT. And having ChatGPT basically write a bunch of code for me. So just being able to understand the concepts and all of that. I still can't write like a line of code by myself. But I guess that's I don't know. You asked me how I got started. Got started in Google Sheet, trying to make money with my friends, and did pretty well. And people started to I guess enjoy the data content on Twitter, and it just kind of all built from there. Um, Took a ton of work, a ton of hours in, and I still had to get like really lucky and win a bunch of money on a home run parlay for anybody to truly care about it. But yeah, it's been a wild ride for sure.
That's it. I it's funny that you say that because I started building out Google Sheets, right? With data in them, having the Google Sheets automatically pull the numbers and it builds out these mock-ups. And it's kind of cool to see how you've evolved in that space. And in that way, I never think I'm going to open up a DegenElytics website, but for my own personal use, it's really nice. And I want to keep kind of growing in that aspect of building out data. I talk about your website to a lot of non-handicappers because I
Yeah.
think your website I think when people hear about betting data, they get kind of like scared, but I think your website is actually phenomenal for people who don't know about betting data. They don't know like on your website, you can go in there and just do the Eli GPT and pull up what this NFL defense does well or what they don't do well. And what I really like, I think a lot of people who build websites sometimes forget this concept is placing a value on someone's line based on the value of what another person's line would be. That's often missed in sports betting, where you hear people talk about hit rate or this team is giving up 114 rushing yards to a running back per game. Let's do 50. We'll do 50 rushing yards to a running back per game. And then they just compare it like it's apples to apples. But your website really compares the apples to oranges, saying at this line for this football player, it is a good value. It's not value because X, Y, and Z. I think that's a really good concept you added in there. Any
Yeah.
follow up question you have, Chris?
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that we've all been in that grind where we've been in that position where you can dish out a ton of winning picks when you first start and you're doing things individually. But It's how do you get those to more eyeballs, right? How do you get those to people who are in our situation? And we know in this world, the degens that we have in this world, myself included, it's it's hard to win. The percentages of people who actually win sports betting is very low. So people are always looking for a trusted source, looking for someone who can help them win more than they lose. But my question specifically around that, around growing your engagement, what advice would you give to content creators to grow their brand and to get more eyeballs, to get more followers?
Man, I kind of alluded to this a couple minutes ago, but like I think you have to work really hard and you still have to get lucky nowadays. Like
Yeah.
there are some guys in the gambling Twitter verse, if you will, that have been here forever, and they're well established. And it's really hard to go from nothing to even 20 plus thousand followers. I think you absolutely have to have some luck involved, and I think we're gambling. We all know that's part of it
Yeah.
at the end of the day, but um, you got to work really really hard, and you still have to get lucky. So I guess don't get discouraged if you're doing it. Like I think Ryan Props, one of my first friends in the gambling Twitter world. I think he had like 20 followers for like I don't know a year, and was still posting bets every single day.
Yeah.
And look where he's at now, right? So
Yep.
yeah, just grind your ass off. Can I say that on here?
Yeah, you can.
And hope you still get lucky a few times
Yeah.
along the way.
Yeah, I think that that's a misconception in this business. It's just, oh, I'm going to hit some tickets and it's going to grow and it's going to be great. It's a grind. Anybody who's been in this position, it's a grind. You're on it every day when you wake up, when you go to sleep. And it's amazing. There's actually people that are so bad at gambling that they've created pages where it's fade me, right?
Yeah,
And they've grown it. And it's at the end of the day, that still requires just as much effort in terms of being how bad can you be versus how good you can be, but it's a constant grind. And you need to have thick skin because I
yeah,
also think that the bigger
Totally.
you are, the more people are coming at you, positive and negatives, right? Like there's always someone that's out to get you. But again, I think that if you're doing what you're doing, you're providing a value, you're providing a service, you're creating a sense of community. Gambling is a very lonely place. So if you can
yeah.
provide those people, within our communities, my community as well, I take great pride in that, is giving people a safe place to be. And I think that's half the battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that answer. I think with anything, it takes a lot of luck, right? Hard work, but you make your own work. You make your own luck with hard work, and
Yeah.
and you've certainly done that. But without us bombarding you on these personal questions, Eli, let's talk about the Mexico Open. Fourth year at Vedanta. I'll go over some quick course stats. Par 71, 7,400 yards. Defending champ is Jake Knapp. Architect, Mr. Greg Norman. A lot of the heavy hitters aren't sitting out. As you noticed, the 2 years prior, we had like Finau and Rom as the really short shots. Rom went off at like 3 and Finau went off to 5.
Yeah.
Akshay Bhatia has dropped to the short shot with Mav McNeely withdrawing. He's now down to 14-1. I did gobble up some 18s and some 20s, but I would not suggest betting anybody at 14-1 that has 1 or 2 wins under their belt as a pro. So speaking of which, favorites, let's get into it. I'm gonna go straight to you, Chris. Who's your favorite short shot? And if you don't have one, you can go in the mid range and double up in that section.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that. You know me, I love the juice. And honestly, I was looking at the faves and the favorites, and none of them really stuck out as much as these guys that in the mid range that are in terms of value. I think that they could all be bucketed into kind of the same thing. Yes, remove, like I wanted Stevens before I looked at the odds, just given his form this year. But not taking him at plus 2250. Like there's just no way. If he starts quick and that sort of stuff, but typically he's a slow starter and he'll come alive on the weekend. But for me, my lowest odds guy is EVR, is Eric Van Rooyen. Good course history. He traditionally plays well in courses such as this, and you can get him at plus 6,000. So for me, it doesn't have necessarily the best form, but if he did have good form coming into here, I would expect that number to be half of that.
Mr. EVR. I think he'll excel here because he's good with long irons, great on approach. That kind of helps here. Before I get into my guy, I want to preface this by saying this is another event where you can model as much as you want. You're going to need at least extensive knowledge on the golfers here. I built my initial model, and I was looking at it. Not enough guys in this field have measured rounds to make a real betting like stance on someone just based off the model. So I'll make another one, just kind of that's more for those top heavy guys, those guys who play a lot of tour events, a lot of PJ Tour events. But I went with my short shot, Mr. Steven Yeager. Steven Yeager has had an interesting stat profile over the past few events, right? So last tournament he played well was Sony. He gained 4.5 strokes on approach at Sony, but lost 3.5 on off the tee at Sony. And Sony at Wiley is a place where you still need to be pretty solid off the tee. It plays very similar here, but you got to be better off the tee there. He did lose a ton on that OB shot. I can't remember exactly how many he lost, but he did lose like almost 2 strokes off the tee on that OB shot. But when he comes and plays out here, he can be a gainer, right? Like he's gained at Torrey, which is really interesting that I'm going to use. He's gained at Torrey off the tee. Both times he was there. He gained at Pebble. But at Torrey, what was really spectacular is how much he gained on approach. He gained 2.8 on approach. So if he can pair that, right? Like I know he sucked on the greens. Torrey's a tough place to putt. If he can pair his ball striking with at least a neutral putter, I think he'll be in contention. When I look at the favorite odds, I got him at 30. 28 is totally fine. There's some guys in here that make you want to scratch your head. Steven Yeager, win equity on the KFT. Now win equity on the PGA Tour. When you think of some of the guys that are around him, you just have to kind of scoff at their odds. And no offense to Mr. P. Rod or Stevenson, because they're both playing great golf, but these guys at 22-1 is something that's almost you can't even digest that. Even Ras at 18-1, I'd rather go with Yeager at a bigger price as my favorite.
Like it.
Eli, do you have any outrights that you've put in hand yet?
I don't love any of the favorites just because the number, like you said, never recommended betting anybody 14-1 at the, I guess with the win history of Akshay. Akshay, I guess, would probably be my favorite just because you look at the stats and he hasn't lost strokes putting since July of last year at the 3M. And to gain 1.4 on approach last week at the Genesis with that field and that level of ball striking that he was going up against, I think it makes sense why he's a short shot, and gun to my head to pick one player to win it. It would probably be Akshay, but I'm also dumb and I don't love the 14-1 that he's down to. I do have a bet on Akshay that we'll talk about a little bit later,
Cool.
But probably no favorites in terms of outrights for me.
Let's go to the mid range, and I'll kick this one off. The mid range was probably my favorite. In mid range, I can bring that all the way up to 60 or 70-1 and still have some comfort. It's Jake Knapp he's my favorite for this tournament. And it could be me on the honeymoon phase with Jake Knapp, right? Like he was close to cashing me a first round leader. I cashed him here last year. He opened at a price bigger this year than he did last year, which was weird to me. I thought this was an easier field for him. Just looking at Jake Knapp's stat profile here, the dude has been a gainer on approach in 4 straight events. He's been a gainer in a putter with his putter on 3 out of 5 events. We all know it comes down to if he's hitting it well off the tee. There's no punishment really. Like if you're punished, you're going to be on the other hole. And I think that helps him a lot. He's just been a really good golfer. I couldn't believe he opened around the 75 to 80 mark, but still playable for me at 40 and 50-1. I like Jake Knapp. He's been playing some really good golf. Let's just keep it going.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that he's been putting up those numbers with that strength of field.
Yes.
And now we get to Mexico, and again, you have Akshay at plus 1400 as the superior player in this field. For me, I saw this number and I knew I was looking for him, and I couldn't believe when I saw it. But it's Justin Lauer at plus 7500. This man this season is second in proximity, He's 5 feet better than the tour average right now. He's having the best season of his career. He finished tied third here last year, and he's playing better golf than he's ever played before. He's a guy where I was looking at the Jagger number. I was looking at that. Yes, he has no win equity, but look at him in the fall, how
Yeah.
well he played. And even this year, his name's been popping up. So at that number, he is probably my favorite bet, and I will be putting in a full unit on him at plus 7,500. We'll see
I
how that
love it.
goes on Sunday.
I like Lauer first round leader. I don't know if you took that, but I thought that was pretty. I thought he was a good candidate. He likes to come out the gates fast too, as well.
Yep.
Eli, you have anybody in this mid range?
I like Harry Hall a lot this week.
Nice.
30 to 1. I don't know if you guys classify that as favorite or mid
You're good with
range.
me.
But I mean, he's one of the better putters on tour. And looking at his approach stats coming in, he lost half a stroke last week, in Phoenix. He lost 0.2 at Pebble. Really good fields there. I think what it comes down to for me is we talked a lot about the quality of the field already. It's not great. I think he's going to be putting from about the same distance as most of these guys out there, and give me Harry Hall's putter against pretty much anybody in this field, right? So 30 to what is it? I think he's 30 to 1 on FanDuel
Yep.
right now. There might be a better line out there, but I think I will have a sprinkle on Harry Hall outright at plus 3,000.
You
If Harry
know,
Hall can turn every golf tournament into a putting contest, he's
yeah.
live to win. It's just as simple as that.
And you know what I like about that, Eli, is that when I'm looking at odds to win versus odds first round leader, there's a few people, let's say probably about 20 golfers, that their first round odds are higher than their tournament odds, which is an interesting stat because Harry Hall in particular, he likes to start fast. So like if he's going to be there on Sunday, he traditionally comes out of the gate swinging pretty good and goes low on round one. So if you look at Harry Hall, depending on your book, you can actually get him at plus 4,000 first round.
I thought we were. I was sent the agenda. First round leader was towards the end.
Okay,
So
so
I don't know.
you
You're
you
kind of
may be
cheating me
double
here a little
dipping,
bit, but
maybe
we'll
double
just
dipping.
we'll just roll with it. But yeah,
Got it.
I'm in on that.
Yeah, I like that value.
I hope you guys don't mind, but I'm gonna give 2 long shots because I just wanted to talk about one who has 0 chance of winning,
Feed the people.
but I really just like this kid and he's got big news happening and his price is nice. I'm going with Carl Phillips, right? KFT superstar,
Yeah,
PGA Tour rookie. He has what you need to win out here. He's got some power, got some KFT wins. Now he's getting the hype recognition he deserves. Tiger Woods' first ambassador of Sunday Red. And he can go low at the Utah champ at the Utah, I think it's called the Utah Championship. At the Utah Championship on KFT, the one he won, he went 60, 67, 62, 64, 66. This kid can play these wide open courses, use his power, use his birdie making ability to go low. It's 175 to 1. Throw a couple bones on that. What I said on off air that you guys didn't hear is this Tiger Woods news is either going to help him or it's going to absolutely crush him. And I think Tiger Woods, he's a pretty good judge of character. I think it's going to help him a lot. And I double dip because this guy, and I lied about Jake Knapp. This guy's actually my favorite bet because price doesn't make sense. That's Antoine Rosner, right? Antoine Rosner is a really freaking good Euro
yeah,
Tour player, DP World Tour player, right? A guy who's just a gainer all over the place on approach, putter, tee to green, out of the bunker. He gains all over the course. And a lot of times we have these guys who primarily play on the European tour come over, they play in these strong fields and they kind of get pushed down to the bottom of the leaderboard. I mean, this is gonna be in no disrespect to the DP World Tour, but this is almost comparable to a World Tour event at a place where he can just go out there, hit greens and drill putts 80 to 1. Yeah, Mr. Rosner is live. And even with the McNeely news, he didn't move as much as I kind of thought he would.
Speaking of no chance to win, I can just throw my version out real quick if you guys want. Unless you had input on Phillips. Sorry, Chris. Just cut in front.
no, you're good.
I don't know why. I just love Joel Damon. I'm kind of biased. 120 to 1 seems like a crazy number. I don't know if I'm going to bet him outright. And I think I'm skipping a little head here again, but he's like plus 140 to be in the top 40. And when he's playing good golf, like I think he's a pretty good golfer. He lost 1.7 strokes putting in Phoenix, which is awful. But as long as he doesn't do that again, like are there really 39 other golfers that are better than Joel Damon in this field? I don't know. Plus 140 for a top 40 for Joel Damon is interesting. And he's also 120 to win, and I don't think he's going to do that. But
Yeah, the fan favorite question. You guys might know this. I didn't check. Joel, what tournament did he win? Was it the Bermuda?
It was Bermuda.
Okay, so this is a perfect segue because do you remember who won the Bermuda Championship in the fall?
No, I do not.
It was Mr. Rafael Campos.
Oh my gosh. Is that your long
So
shot?
let me talk to you about this man, okay? This year in 2025, he has missed 4 of 5 cuts. His best is the Century, basically 57th, so next to dead last. He is 600 to 1 to win this week. He's
That's
not going to
insane.
win. He's not going to win. But it is a very similar type environment. Beach feel, resort style, wind could pick up. It's pretty wide open. You're not going to be too penalized off the tee. I am going to sprinkle just a tiny little bit on him. It makes no sense at all, but I hope we talk about it next. Honestly, I just hope that he's there
He's
and
there on Sunday.
not last place. I just hope that he's just relevant to a certain extent. If you're someone who says, you know what, I'm not going to waste any money on that, I totally understand that, respect that. But you could sprinkle maybe top 40, top 20. I mean, with those odds to win, divide that by 10. I mean, he's still going to be like 15 to 1 probably to finish top 20 or whatever.
His finishes are insane.
Yeah.
Going back to October 6th, Sanderson Farm 2024, he's made 2 cuts.
Yep.
One of them was the win in Bermuda.
Yep.
That's insane.
And one had no cut, I think, was the other one.
Man.
Yeah. So when he wins, then you can just rub my genie lamp with me next week and we'll try and do it again.
It's crazy.
Did you give your long shot yet, Chris?
No, so that was because you gave 2, I gave 1 that absolutely won't win. So my other long shot that I actually think has a really good opportunity this week, I find he's finding his old form. For anybody who follows golf or the Q School, he got in on the last day of Q School. He's sitting at plus 9,000. He's played really well this year in the bigger, harder fields. It is a perfect type of field for him to get his second win. And I think, and this is an early call, I think he'll be comeback player of the year. And that's Lanto Griffin, and you can get him at almost 100 to 1.
That'd be sick. I looked at Lanto. So actually how I ended up betting this tournament was I knew all of the golfers I liked on Sunday night, right? It was a no-brainer for me, the golfers I liked. I was like, we're going to do a little more digging on Monday. Mav gets announced out, and I said, screw that. I'm going to do a mixture of the guys I like and the guys who will take the biggest hit on their odds. And I liked Lanto, but I didn't think he would take a massive hit because he's not super popular. He took like a $10 hit. A $10 hit. And so that gave me more time. I could digest a $10 hit, from an 80 or 90 to 1 guy. But I really like Lantos playing really good golf. We'll see if he can come home at a course like this. It's funny because I've never seen Lanto as like a guy who's and I'm not looking at his stat profile, so it's off the top of my head, but I've never seen him as a guy who can excel at these long courses. But he literally has had success over the last couple of long courses that he's played. He's done pretty well.
Also keep in mind too, right? It's the yardage doesn't play true. The ball is going to fly. So if you're, those people who don't know, it's playing 7,400, probably playing closer to what, 7,100?
Yeah, 71. I'd say 71 is close to low 72.
So it's not insanely long like a Farmer's, how long that plays.
Oh yeah.
But it's a longer course, but I don't think he'll be overly penalized by it.
It's for the guys like him too, like they can put a little extra club head speed into it because you're
Yeah.
not going to get penalized at all by this. Like the fairways are wide, and the rough isn't. Last week they're playing at 4-inch rough, right? 4.25.
Yeah.
Now it's probably down to 2. So
Yeah.
You
Big
find some
difference.
water here, though, right?
you can
Yep.
find some water and you
On
can
your
find some
second shots,
bunkers.
at least.
Yeah. I think it's the par 3 9th hole is a short little par 3. The guys were getting wet all weekend long on that
Yeah,
hole.
there's 13 holes with water in play, 55 bunkers. But I mean, you have 40 acres of rough, right? I mean, of fairway. Like it's
Yeah.
enough for you better hit this fairway. All right, let's move over to our prop bets. I'm gonna be quick with mine because I already touched on them, and I'm going with Phillips top 40, top 20. I'm not gonna play top 40 this week. I'm gonna play Phillips top 20 at 40 to 1, 4 plus 450, excuse me. And I took Rosner, my favorite of the two, top 20 at plus 300.
Nice. Going after it. I'm going with, just because my prop missed last week, I'm going to go with something that I'm really comfortable with and maybe up the unit size.
Okay.
And that's top Argentine. I'm going to go with Emiliano Grillo at plus 105. So there's 3 Argentines in the field. It's him, Toasty, and then a kid from Argentina who's plus 750 to be, top Argentine. So we can
Yeah.
dismiss him completely. Essentially, it's a 1v1, and you're getting plus odds on it, which is really rare. And there's no push to lose. So a plus 105, give me him. Toasty barely kept his card last year. He's kind of on a exempt type thing where he only gets into a certain amount of fields. Hasn't been playing a lot of golf. Grillo tends to show up and play well in situations like this in the weaker fields.
Yes.
Also a good guy to take early because he likes to go low if he has a morning tee time. But give me a top guy plus 105.
Grillo has actually played well here too. I was going to fire on him to win the tournament. My problem, I think he was priced a little too. I think it was like right at 100. He's came down a little. He's down to plus 1100. So yeah, I like Grillo. He could pop. Like a lot of these guys, like in these markets that you play, right? There was a question on ESPN Bet, right? And like when to play top nationality and when to play top 20. The guys that you mentioned in Grillo's top Argentine group, they probably won't finish top 20, top 30, right? So you don't even need to play them to get a good price. All you need to do is top Argentine.
Mm-hmm.
I like this market. I haven't played this market enough, but you've kind of opened my eyes to it. He was one of my dark horses for a winner at the big price.
What I like about that bet, and top region, top nationality, depends on your book, is if you have guys in this situation, if Toasty and the kid miss the cut, you get paid on Friday night,
Yeah.
right? You don't have to wait till Sunday. You don't have to worry about the guy making sure he shows up. Eric Cole at Pebble,
Yeah.
right? Like basically there for 3 days and then blows up on the last day and then you don't cash. So that's why I kind of lean towards those more so. And instead, you don't have to beat 140 players; you have to beat 2. So the value is there sometimes.
Do you have a player prop that you like, Eli?
Yeah, I mentioned one of them already. Joel
Okay.
Damon. I think plus 140 for him to be in the top 40. I think it's just a good number. I don't know. I've lost a lot of money on this guy just because I don't know. I like him a lot. I also think I'm going to be on Harry Hall top 20 is like plus 130 ish as well. Just because I think he can have a good week, and I don't know. We'll see what happens. These are always kind of weird tournaments to bet on when the field is the level that it is. But plus
Have you guys? Let me ask you
plus
guys this question:
160.
Have you ever done a ladder style bet in golf where you have a guy to win and then you'll have him top 10, top 20, top 40, and then
I
just
will.
double the increments to make sure you
I,
at least cover all your bets?
I have, and I've always lost all of them.
Yeah.
Trying to do that less.
I've never done it, and I never even I never even really just back up my guys like I am this week. Like
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I'm not gonna get double dinged.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of times when I give out picks to the community, I try not to do winner and then have the same first round leader list Because if
Yeah.
the guy just shows up and he's shit for round one, okay, we just lost 2 bets. Me personally, what I always do is if I have a guy to win, I always play him first
Yeah.
round because you're cheering from him from the beginning. So you know what? If you get lucky and the guys goes wire to wire and you double dip, amazing. If he gets one of the two, that's still great. But again, if you're sticking to your bankroll, unit management, it is kind of silly to kind of put everything on one guy.
Yeah.
1000%.
Let's go to first round leader. And these numbers are wild this week on the first round leader, by the way. But let me go to the favorite. Akshay is your favorite here.
Yep.
33 to 1's not horrible for a guy to start out hot as the favorite. It's probably one of the better first round leaders we've gotten. And it moves
Definitely
to
not.
Rasmus at 33, Stevens at 35, Rogers at 35, Kitayama at 35. Then we go on. Let's go to you first, Eli. Any first round leaders that tickle your fancy?
These are actually the only 2 bets that I have placed and given out in our Discord. Akshay at plus 3,000 when he's 14 to 1 to win. I
Yep.
played that. And I also am on Harry Hall, first round leader, 40 to 1.
Can't go wrong with Mr. Hall, right? Like, he's just a first round pop guy. If you don't
Yep.
have Harry Hall, like, what are you doing?
40 to 1. It's crazy.
I went with Akshay as my short guy. I mean, he's gonna hit fairways, he's gonna hit greens, he's playing really good. I also went with Jake Knapp. I'm just gonna keep firing at Jake Knapp, first round leader, till I hit it, the way he's playing. He's had a couple of close calls. But let's talk about 2 guys that are insane prices that we just need to just address. Sammy Valimaki finished runner up here last year. He's gonna have a pop round. Why not it be this one? And then the guy who is always in the mix for first round leader at these courses, David Skins. 150 to 1. He's always in the mix at these kind of courses as first round leader.
I love it. I love it. I hit Skins last year at the Canadian Open.
Dude, I've hit him. I think I hit him once this year, like 60 or 70 live. I think is what I took it live. I can't remember what tournament that was.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? On Hard Rock, I don't think I've ever seen this. First round leader, David Skins, is 200 to 1.
Dude, shut up. I'm locking that in. I mean, $10, bro. I've spent
Wow.
$10 on a sandwich that I threw away after one bite.
Yeah, that's high. We're gonna have to add him to the list because he is one of those guys that'll go low and then just completely disappear.
Yep.
But I do like that. So
Man,
I'm
that
gonna
had to
wait
be a
for
bad sandwich. I'm sorry, Chris. That had to be a bad sandwich.
yeah, come
What
on.
the?
I'm a food snob, by the way. I have a
But
Instagram,
it's a sandwich.
Brad's Best Bites, where I go and rate foods and everything. So if the food's not good, the sandwich is not good, I'm tossing it and buying another one. We work too hard not to eat food we don't enjoy.
That's true,
Fair.
but like it's a sandwich.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, guy. This is the first time we're with Chris. I've cut him off like 3 times. He's gonna hate me, so sorry about that.
No, we're good. We're
No,
good.
you're good.
I'm gonna take Batia as well, just because of the value. You know, it's over 2x. I mean, it just makes sense. If the guy's gonna be there, probably gonna be decent round one. So I'm with you guys there. And then my other pick that I'll give out is one or the other. If Grillo is starting early, he's my guy. If Lauer is starting early, he's my guy. Both those guys, their scoring averages are so much better with early tee times than they are with afternoon tee times. I don't know what it is. Get up, you wake and bake, do whatever you got to do, and just get your mind right. But it's going to be one of those 2 guys. If they're both teeing off in the morning, I'll probably go on both.
I'm surprised no one said Patrick Rogers because he's been pretty good recently. He's been starting rounds really fire. 35 to 1 is just not a palatable price. It's really tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough. Well, before we let Eli go, Eli, I'm putting you on the spot here. One
boy.
more interview question.
All
Okay.
right.
There's no right or wrong answer. I need you to build the perfect fast food meal. You can stop somewhere different for each thing: the drink, the side, the main course, and the dessert.
The side is definitely gonna be cheese curds from Culver's.
Okay.
Um, I'm not bi- I'm not big on fast food burgers because I had one bad experience with
Yeah.
with a McDonald's burger in college, and I'm no kidding. I don't know that I've had a burger from fast food since. Unless you're talking about like something like Five Guys technically being fast food, which I've also never eaten Five Guys without immediately having explosive diarrhea. Man, this is not easy. This is not easy. Give me some chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
I might take that back. And I might go with the chicken strips from Zaxby's.
Okay.
Strips from Zaxby's. A little bit of a sleeper here on the drink. The cherry limeade from Sonic.
Dude, cherry limeade is like literally
Cherry
the
limeade,
best
is that
drink
all?
ever.
So I got the cherry limeade from Sonic, the cheese curds from Culver's, and I've got the chicken strips from Zaxby's. Is that all I need?
You want a dessert, or you good on the dessert?
I'm not a huge dessert guy.
Me either.
Honestly, I would rather have if I have enough room in the belly for dessert, I would rather just eat more chicken strips or more cheese curds.
Hey, that's a winner for me, dude. Listen, the only dessert that I eat, you guys catch me eat, that I'm obsessed with, there's a little vegan restaurant downstairs in my building that has a strawberry milkshake, and I never even knew it was vegan until one day I'm a regular there, right? And I'm like sitting there and I'm like, does this say vegan? Phenomenal. Well,
Phenomenal.
that said, Eli, thank you so much for joining us. Chris, as always, it's been great. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you smash the like button and subscribe. If you're listening to us in podcast form, go ahead and download and rate the show. I hope you guys have a great tournament and take care.
Good luck.